Good evening. I'm going to call the Village Board meeting for Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 to order. First item actually is to remind you to please silence any cell phones or other electronic devices that make noise, of which there are a ton of stuff. Next item is I'd like to ask the clerk, village clerk, to take the roll.
Trustee Bishke.
Present.
Trustee Madej.
Present.
Trustee Dunham.
Present.
Trustee Sullivan.
Present.
Trustee Clare.
Present.
Trustee Kozak absent. President Daly.
Present. We have 6 accounted for. We have a quorum. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask Trustee Dunham to
please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
And thank you, Trustee Dunham. Next item is the approval of minutes from July 26, 2022. Any questions, comments, additions, deletions?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of expenditures. We have an expenditures in the amount of $3,770,092.26. Look for comments, questions.
Move to approve the expenditures as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the expenditures as presented. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Bishke.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Next item, it's a fun item. We have a presentation by Mr. Robert Schmidt, who is chairman of the Bikeways Advisory Committee here in the village. Also serves on the Schaumburg Park Board. So
Yes.
thank you very much. And you have a presentation to make today.
Yes, I do. June of this year marked the 4th year that the Village of Schaumburg celebrated Bike Month with the Business Bike Classic, a challenge between employees of businesses and organizations located in Schaumburg to ride their bicycles. Each team consisted of 4 members from the business, and a business could have more than one team. This year, the cumulative results were distributed for the top teams in each of the 3 mileage brackets. Tier 1 was 2,000 miles plus, Tier 2 was 1,000 to 1,999 miles, and Tier 3 was 100 to 999 miles. This was all in the month of June. The top winners received the traveling trophy, and I don't believe they're here tonight, and a prize package that features gift cards for activities and destinations in Schaumburg. The first and second place teams of Tier 2, as well as the first, second, and third place teams of Tier 3 also won prizes along with the top male and female individuals for each year. There were 17 teams this year from 10 businesses and organizations that participated and rode a combined total of just over 13,000 miles. Z-Cycle Delago of Zurich, North America rode 2,635 miles through the month. And they are our winners. I don't believe they're here. I'll mention their names though. It's William Lindbergh, John Sumsky, Sam Swinton, and George Goodman. And the trophy's over there. If you'd like to see it, we'll have it here at the village until they come and pick it up. So it was another successful year. Thank you.
Sounds like very good. I do have a question. Maybe you can't answer it, but Z-Cycle Del Lago?
Yes.
Any idea as to what that represents? No. Is it anything in particular? They just, whatever, something they came up with?
I think that's what it was. They just came up with it.
Okay, all right.
Kind of a unique name.
Congrats to them.
You know,
right.
Tom, I will find them and ask them.
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
Any comments from the rest of the board on that? No? It's very good.
Do you think the board might want to do it next year? Get a team?
I should.
You bike, don't you?
Yeah, I should. but,
And Brian I know Brian bikes,
Yeah, I don't think I ride 2,000 miles in a month.
but it's a team effort.
yeah, it's a team effort, so
Okay.
that helps. And you
Yes.
said there's one that's sounds like from 100 to 1,000, right?
Yep,
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
that's it. Okay,
That one
thank you.
sounds better for me,
Yep,
so.
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Moving on to next item, we have liquor license request from Mr. George Zervos. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay. For one Class S liquor license for Meacham Shell located at 2501 North Meacham Road. That's actually at the corner of Meacham, the northeast corner of Meacham and Algonquin. So why don't you come forward, if you wouldn't mind, either one or both of you. And we're going to ask you to just let us know what you're looking to do here. This is an existing gas station at
Yes.
this location.
Yes, it is.
So just what you're looking to do. This is a new license too, by the way. So,
Simply just be able to sell a small section of just beer and wine, no hard type of spirits or anything like that.
existing gas station and just wanting to add the ability to sell beer and wine.
Yes.
Okay? How long you been in this location?
We've been here since 2011, and we had prior kind of in and out of it since '96.
Okay. Didn't you remodel this recently, or?
Yes, we remodeled, put a brand new car wash in,
Yeah.
remodeled the whole store about 6 months ago.
Yeah, okay. Questions, comments from the board? Trustee Madey?
So that's all going to be locked by attendant release?
It's going to be in the cooler after hours. I think the liquor license goes to, I think, 2 o'clock in the morning. Then we chain up the doors and nobody will be able to buy liquor.
It's got certain restrictions and visibility, what they can and can't, and how much space they can take up and all that. Don't believe we added any lock to lock it down in there, because some of it could be open display.
This is fairly new to the licenses.
Yes.
For gas stations. Yeah.
Yep, yeah. So, any other questions, comments?
Just a very quick thing for the record for the
Sure.
clerk. Please give us your name again and
yeah.
spell it-
George Zervos?
and spelled how it is on the
Yes.
agenda. Okay, great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Zerbe.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Seeing that, let me just mention that from here, and we've already talked about this, you'll need to see the liquor license commissioner's office, which is located upstairs at the same place the mayor's office is, during normal business hours. Complete all the paperwork, get fingerprinted and checked, background checked by the police department, and once that's approved, then pay the appropriate fee, and you're off and away to go. So, okay, thank you. Next item is consent agenda. Consent agenda will be read in its entirety, voted on in one motion to approve. If you wish to discuss an item further, please indicate that when the item is read by the village clerk so that it can be removed from the consent agenda and discussed further under committee reports. Otherwise, all items will be approved as presented on the consent agenda in one motion to approve. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Number 1, correspondence. The motion would be to approve the request from Spring Valley Concert Band to hold a raffle on September 10th, 2022 at Spring Valley Nature Center, 1111 East Schaumburg Road, and to waive the fidelity bond requirements. B, the motion would be to approve the request from Schaumburg Business Association to hold a raffle on August 25th at Schaumburg Corporate Center, 1501 Woodfield Road, and to waive the fidelity bond requirement. 2, liquor licenses. The motion would be to approve the request from Mrs. Jacqueline Tripfahan Milburn of WT Group for one-day liquor license for the Lynx Technology Cup on Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. at Schaumburg Golf Club, 401 North Roselle Road. B, the motion would be to approve the request from Mr. Krupal Patel of Beerhead Bar and Eatery for one Class D one-day liquor license for the Lynx Technology Cup on Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. at Schaumburg Golf Club, 401 North Roselle Road. C, the motion would be to approve the request from Mrs. Sandra M. Gallardo of Schaumburg Bank and Trust N.A. for one Class D one-day liquor license for the Lynx Technology Cup on Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. at Schaumburg Golf Club, 401 North Roselle Road. D, the motion would be to excuse me. Am I missing something? Oh, I'm sorry, page stuck together, excuse me. The motion would be to approve the request from Mrs. Katie Berganaski Frank of Clearwater Capital Partners for one Class D one-day liquor license for the Lynx Technology Cup on Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at Schaumburg Golf Club, 401 North Roselle Road. E, the motion would be to approve the request from Mrs. Karen Robles of Village of Schaumburg for 6 Class D one-day liquor licenses for Aspen Lane Wine Company, Buffalo Creek Company, Church Street Brewing, Global Brew Tap House, Pilot Pete's Restaurant and Bar, and Black and Gray Brewing for Schaumburg Regional Airport's Hops and Props on Saturday, September 17th, 2022, from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. at 905 West Irving Park Road. E, the motion would be to approve the request from Mrs. Roxanne Benvenuti of Village of Schaumburg for 3 Class D one-day liquor licenses for the September Fest main stage performers on Saturday, September 3rd, 2022, from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. Sunday, September 4th, 2022, from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m., and Monday, September 5th, 2022, from 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. at the September Fest grounds, 101 Schaumburg Court. G, the motion would be to approve the request from Lynn Siclaro of Sons and Daughters of Italy in America for 2 Class D one-day liquor licenses for Saturday, September 3rd, 2022, from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m., and Sunday, September 4th, 2022, from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. at the September Fest grounds at 101 Schaumburg Court. 3 proclamations. Payroll week, September 7th to 11th, 2022. B, construction work, September 17th to 23rd, 2022. 4, Engineering and Public Works Committee. The motion would be to approve an agreement for the acoustical monitoring and assessment program with M.E. Simpson of Valparaiso, Indiana, in the amount of $165,829.20 and approve the required resolution. B, the motion would be to award a contract for the Teen Center modernization construction to Bowler Construction Company, Inc. of Waukegan, Illinois, in the amount of $180,500. C, the motion would be to award a contract for the Teen Center modernization furniture procurement to Interiors for Business, LLC, of Batavia, Illinois, in the amount of $86,055.37. D, the motion would be to authorize participation in the National Cooperative Purchase Alliance and award the fire station epoxy floor replacement project to F.H. Passion of Chicago, Illinois, in the total amount of $320,294.43. D, the motion would be to approve a 4-month contract extension for street maintenance material to Healy Asphalt Company, LLC, of Elk Grove, Illinois, for an additional $47,462. F, the motion would be to award a bid for street maintenance materials, items 1 to 3, hot mix asphalt and emulsion to Builders Asphalt, LLC, of Hillside, Illinois, in the amount of $95,664 for 1 year with 3 optional 1-year extensions up to the approved budget. G, the motion would be to accept the proposed plat of easement for a public water main easement and authorize the village president to execute the easement document. H, the motion would be to direct staff to pause the village's electrical aggregation program upon expiration of the village's agreement with Ilago Energy of Chicago, Illinois, in December 2022. 5, Health and Human Services Committee. A, the motion would be to direct staff to issue an RFP and to retain a vendor to conduct a health services needs assessment on the Village of Schaumburg. 6, Plan Commission. The motion would be to approve a special use for a home-based business, microplating and cosmetic services, variation to increase square footage allowed for home-based business for Lisa Burma, 101 Bardsley Drive.
Poll, please.
B, the motion would be to approve a plat of consolidation for TWR Service Corporation, 940 Lunt Avenue. C, the motion would be to approve a fence variation and accessory structure location variation for 563 Lindsay Avenue. 7, Zoning Board of Appeals. A, the motion would be to approve a site plan approval, preliminary and final plat approval, and building height variation for Northwest Community Hospital, 519 South Roselle Road. 8, Project Review Group. A, the motion would be to approve a site plan amendment for parking lot addition for TWR Service Corporation, 940 Lunt Avenue. 9, resolutions. The motion would be to adopt as Resolution R 22-069, authorizing the village manager and village clerk to execute an agreement for the acoustical monitoring and assessment program with M.E. Simpson. 10, ordinances. The motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-060, granting a site plan approval, preliminary and final plat approval, and building height variation for Northwest Community Hospital, 519 South Roselle Road. B, the motion would be to waive first reading.
Poll, please.
Okay, and that is granting a special use for a home-based business, microblading and cosmetic services variation to increase square footage, allow for a home-based business for Lisa Burma, 101 Beardsley Drive. C, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-061, granting a fish fence variation and accessory structure location variation, 563 Lindsay Avenue. D, the motion would be to adopt as ordinance number, waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-062, granting a plat of consolidation for TWR Service Corporation, 940 Lunt Avenue. E, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-063, granting a site plan amendment for parking lot addition for TWR Service Corporation, 940 Lunt Avenue. This concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. Look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I would,
Minus the.
we should make the motion to remove item 6A and also 10B.
Well, the motion doesn't need to include that. They can be removed by anyone, but you can make it clear that the motion is to adopt
Got it.
everything but that.
Second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the motion is to approve the consent agenda, subject to item 6A being removed and 10B being removed. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Bishke.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
Trustee
5
Kozak
ayes.
absent.
5 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Thank you. Committee reports. We have this item that I had asked to be pulled off. We're familiar with it. It's been back and forth between the board and the Plan Commission and back again regarding microblading cosmetic services for a home-based business to Lisa Burma, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, at 101 Bardsley Drive. I asked just that it be pulled off so that we could be clear as to what was being voted on and to ask if there was any other comments or discussions from anyone regarding this item. This lady is looking for, the petitioner is looking for to conduct this business in her home. There was a couple of conditions mentioned. One was to limit, I believe, to limit the number of individuals could come to the home, I think to 3, if I recall correctly. Although we didn't see that here, and then also to limit the number of hours to between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. comments, discussion on this item? Trustee Bishke.
I do, relative to the two conditions that you mentioned, they're conditions number 3 and number 11 in the ordinance. So back in August of 2018, we approved a nearly identical business in Schaumburg. Relative to the number of clients that can visit per day, the stipulation in that ordinance was 6, not 3. And so I believe the Village of Schaumburg, if we're going to add conditions to special uses like this, we should add them consistently and fairly across the board. And since this is a nearly identical business, my recommendation would be that we allow, whether the petitioner wants to have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever, we should allow, the ordinance should allow to have up to 6 client visits per day to be consistent with the previously approved ordinance. The second condition, number 11, was added at the Plan Commission meeting in July. That condition does not exist in the original ordinance either from August of 2018 for the other microblading business. There's no restriction on the hours or the days of operation for that business. And again, I believe that if we're going to, be adding conditions to their special use, they should be implemented consistently across the board. So my recommendation in that would be to eliminate condition number 11.
Question for staff. Is there a particular reason these items were added? Mr. Franklin.
Yes, good evening. The conditions were added as a result of concerns brought during the public hearing process from adjacent property owners.
Okay.
Correct.
It wasn't due to something from the other business that's similar to this that's running in an operation, so you didn't make adjustments because of that?
Correct.
That's actually not true for condition number 3. Condition number 3 is laid out in the original report from staff. The verbiage in the report from August of 2018 and from the report for this case is almost identical when it comes to talking about the numbers of clients allowed. There's an addition in the staff report, which would have been presented prior to the original public hearing, that says the maximum of 6 clients per day minimizes the impact adjacent property and limits traffic for the business. The subject has property driveway with room for 4 vehicles. Because of the nature of the business and the length of time per session for each client, staff recommends limiting the number of client visits to less than 6 and limiting the maximum number of clients to 3 as indicated on the petitioner's application. The problem that I have with that statement is the original petitioner from 2018 only had space in her driveway for 2 cars, not 4 cars. And again, it's the same business, it's the same amount of time for clients and everything else. So I don't understand why we're limiting this petitioner to 3 versus the other one to 6. This petitioner has more room for cars in her driveway than the other one does.
Understood. So the condition that was placed in the ordinance for consideration tonight was based on conversations that staff had with adjacent property owners after the public hearing notice had been published. So that's the reason that staff added the conditions to this one and not the previous one.
I think that's the one for item number 11, which is the days Monday through Friday. But this was in the original report when the original public hearing was held. So it couldn't have been with adjacent property holders unless they had the conversations before the public hearing.
Okay, well, regardless, it's there now.
Yeah, it is there. I just
So-
don't feel it should be there.
Let me, before, I want to come back to this here, if you don't mind for a minute. So let me first ask if there's any other questions or comments before Mr. Franklin moves away. Anyone over here? No. We all know that this item is in dispute, that the board is not fully in sync on this. For those that, one way or another, are they interested in making any changes to what Trustee Bischke has suggested?
I'm fine with the changes. I think that he brings up a couple good points if we're going to, stay straight on, how we operate, home businesses. If we've already given somebody access to more than 3, I think we should allow this person to have the same availability.
I did not get the impression that the petitioner was asking for this directly, but it certainly gives them the option and keeps them consistent with what the prior business owner has done, or has the options for. Any other questions, comments?
I also think on item number 11 with the hours, limiting the hours from 9 to 3 p.m. on Monday through Friday, I think it's actually a good position for us to put in, because not just because of the neighbors, but, school children coming home and things like that, and having less traffic in that area.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I guess we're going to look for a motion.
Mr. President, would you entertain comments from the audience?
Sure, you can come on up. And a petitioner if she wishes.
Yeah, maybe the petitioner wants to speak too.
You know the routine?
Yes, sir. I think I do know the routine.
Yep.
I haven't forgotten
Your
that.
first child? Just kidding.
Margaret, I'll even give my voting name, Margaret Connolly, 102 Amboy Lane. I was at the last time the board spoke about this. Unfortunately, I was not unable to attend the Plan Commission meetings. But that was my impression on reading them, the same as Trustee Bischke's. I really don't understand why we're putting either the days of the week or the times and the numbers. I think when I read the minutes and I read the staff report, it reads that when asked, the petitioner says, I think I'll have about 3 people a day and probably not more than that. But if on a particular day she wanted a 4th customer and we allow this, in a business that's operated now for 4 years without problems, I'm not sure why we put the restriction. And in the same way, it sort of just popped up in the Plans Commission meeting that that they put this weekend. I mean, if someone wanted to come to her house at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's one car, usually one person getting out of the car. I don't understand why we've had a very protracted situation here, very unusual that we've gone on for 3 months on one of these kind of things. It's cost her money all these months that she's not been able to be in business, and I just don't quite understand why we're being so, what I think is punitive. As I stated before, I'm directly her neighbor behind her. I've lived in this house for 50 years this coming December. They are some of the nicest, friendliest, most helpful neighbors that I've had since I've lived in the community. They did a lot to the house, cleaning it up because it had been a rental for 3 years prior to moving in. I just don't see how this is detrimental to me or to the other neighbors. If somebody came on a Saturday morning, or from my position, if they came at 6 o'clock at night, it's one car, one person at a time. I'm just not sure why we're looking at this additional restrictions. Thank you. I'll put my name down on the list.
It's my understanding that it sounds like from Mr. Franklin and from what I've read that they're attempting to minimize any potential impact on the neighborhood. But based upon what I've heard before, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Franklin, that the other business that's basically identical to this one, we've not had any complaints or any comments from neighbors at that location.
That is correct.
So, and they do not have these restrictions. So they could be seeing 8 clients a day for all we know.
They have the one, it's 6 is a maximum, right?
They do have a restriction of, 6, as do almost all of the other home-based businesses that have client visits. The 6 has been the standard that we've limited for daily visits.
Okay.
In this case, it's knocked down to 3, and I don't understand why.
Okay. All right, other questions, comments? From the board? And I'm looking for a motion.
How do we make this? I don't want to jeopardize.
Well, the motion that what's come before,
So-
we have from the Plan Commission, a motion to approve this with these items noted that you have brought up about the maximum number of clients. They've included that. They've also included the time. Bear with me a second while I go back to it. With the time in that. And it did come from the Plan Commission on a vote of 5-3, so it is an approved recommendation from there. So you can, choices, you can either make a motion to concur with the recommendation, you can make a motion to concur with the recommendation with modification to it, or you can make a motion to deny.
So if trustee Bischke is making the motion, just based on what his comments were, I would think the motion would be to accept in part and modify in part the recommendation, and to adopt, to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-064, the ordinance as presented to the board, but in section 2, number 3, changing the word 3 to 6, and adding an S at the end of client, because it says 3 client, it should say clients. And again, following trustee Bischke's line of thinking, to eliminate condition number 11 and renumber condition 12 as 11. Is that correct?
Correct.
That would be the motion. Could say so moved if I did it.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to, with that recommendation and modification. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Bischke.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
No.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
No.
Village president votes.
The village president must vote because it's 3-2. There is no negative recommendation, which would trigger the supermajority, and an ordinance needs 4 affirmative votes to pass. So although it's 3-2 in favor, trustee Daly must vote to decide the issue.
So while I normally am not in favor of home-based businesses that have clients brought in, we already have one, and for the sake of consistency, I'm going to vote yes. So motion carries, this business passes, and in order to move forward, you would then need to see the finance department and receive your building permit or building license, or sorry, business license to move forward. Okay? Marge will help you through that. Okay. Thank you. Any other committee reports?
We have to create.
Oh, I'm
an
sorry,
ordinance.
yes, we have the ordinance. So the ordinance.
No, the ordinance was part of the motion.
Yeah, I.
Was it?
Oh, you
Yeah.
did.
The way I
22-064
phrased
was
it, it
all-
was to
it was all
accept,
included.
modify the recommendation and adopt, waive first reading, adopt its ordinance. I think Maryland's got
64,
it.
yeah,
64.
It was a combined motion.
Yeah,
yeah.
All right,
we're good then.
I'm sorry.
64.
64.
Yeah, am I?
64.
Okay.
Okay, so we're clear. Motion did include the ordinance, and it was ordinance number 22-064.
Marilyn said she has it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
It's on the voice
All right.
recording.
Okay, any other committee reports? Comments from the audience? Opportunity to come speak before the board for items pertinent towards the village of Schaumburg. If you have anything, please come up, sign in, give us your name and address for the record. Aye.
My name's Darlene Janicki. We live in Lancer Park and lived there for...
I need to ask you if you wouldn't mind also signing in for the village clerk, so.
Where am I?
Put the microphone down so we can hear you.
Yeah,
You've got a
maybe
soft
little
voice.
bit. There you go.
There.
Thank you. It's not always best acoustics. Take your time.
Lived here for 27 years in Lancer Park, and normally for the 27 years, our area has been really nice, and we've been really proud to live there. But in the last couple of years, it's really been run down. We've had a lot of renters moved in, and a lot of the areas have been overgrown. The yards look terrible. A lot of places have been rented, bought by property management companies. I noticed when I was doing my research, there's supposed to be rental property inspections. There's supposed to be a program and code enforcements. We've called, we've complained, nothing's been done. We also have heard rumor that down our street there's a meth home. There's been complaints after complaints, and nothing's been done. We have heard also there's Section 8 housing, which is fine, but nothing's been done to have the homes taken care of. It looks terrible. It's an embarrassment. And we want to know why nothing is being done to have these homes taken care of. I am surrounded by homes that have weeds that look like bushes now because it's so taken over. And I want to know, by a couple years ago, I got a ticket, a warning ticket, because the numbers on my house were not big enough, but yet my neighbor has weeds, garbage can, stuff all over, and he does not have anything done. So I'm just wondering why things are not being done in our Schaumburg that used to be a beautiful place to live.
Well, I can't answer that question for you right now, and I'm not familiar. I'm familiar with the area, but not familiar with this, having just first heard this. But we do have individuals here. We have the police chief in the back, and he was busy taking notes, so I'm sure he will look to address any criminal element or any issue of such of that's going on that shouldn't be there. And Mr. Franklin, I assume you would be the one this evening handling? Okay. Yes. So maybe if you can stick around for a little bit and you can speak with them.
And the problem of making individual calls, which I did in the past, is they tell the person who called, and that's a huge problem.
Well,
Question, Tom?
yeah, you can always call me, and then I'm the bad guy. So that's always something you can do, is call the mayor's office, and you know, I can pursue from there. Not unusual for that to happen. Okay, Trustee Dunham.
Do you have a list of the residences that you're talking about?
I do.
Do you? Okay. Would you please be sure that Mr. Franklin...
But see, this is a small list.
May I finish?
Yes.
Would you please make sure that Mr. Franklin gets a copy of that list?
But it's also a small list.
Sure.
And it used to be that you guys used to drive through the neighborhoods and look, because a lot of us got tickets for addresses, and you guys used to do a list, and if there were weeds or long grass or whatever, people would get tickets, but you guys don't do that anymore.
Well, we still do, but the community's been broken into sections, so takes a little bit more time sometimes, but I know it's being done because I get the calls from residents that complain because their trash cans have been left out in front of their garage. They've got weeds that, you know, they claim are not weeds, and all sorts of stuff that, you know, their paint has been peeling on their garage, and they're complaining that, you know, why are we not addressing the bad guys and dealing with stuff like that. So I'm getting those, so I know the staff is out doing that. Maybe haven't gotten around to that area. It is starting to get late in the year, but it is being done, it is being addressed. But we can make a concerted effort over Lancer Park in general and make sure that gets addressed. But please talk to Mr. Franklin. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on, council report.
I have no report, Mayor. Thank you.
President's report, I have two items. First one is, was a little blurb in the Daily Herald on Saturday, August 6th. It was on page 3, but very important. Boomers recorded their 500th victory in their franchise history. They dispatched the Windy City Thunderbolts 5-2 in the opener of a 6-game homestand. And it marks the 500th victory for Jamie Bennett, the lone manager in franchise history. I didn't know we only had one. I didn't realize that. For some odd reason, I thought there was another one. At any rate, he becomes the 7th skipper in the Frontier League history to win 500 contests, with a career mark of 500 to 362, with 4 titles in 10 seasons. So obviously done very well, and he's ours. So that's great. Next item, there was a notice I happened to see internally that talked about an officer, Lieutenant Joseph Kaminsky, thank you, that actually nominated a couple of other officers, Scott Layan and Officer Melissa Nowak. They were dispatched to a residential address, check on a well-being. They met the resident there, indicated they were having financial difficulties, little or no food available. They took it upon themselves to purchase groceries for this resident and connect her with social services. You know, just an example of what this police department does and the concern that they have for their fellow human being. And while I'm sure they can't do this all the time, obviously, but there is services that they can connect with. And the police department do have some emergency funds to help people in need like this to step up, and it really touches your heart when you see things like this. Nobody in Schaumburg should be in that kind of situation, but unfortunately it does happen. Things are very tight out there, so thank you very much to those officers, and please pass that on. That's all I have. Manager's report?
I have no report.
Okay. New business? Unfinished business? Trustee comments and mentions. Yes. Trustee Dunham.
I would like to commend Paula Diaz, Karen
McCarthy.
Yeah, thank you. Karen McCarthy and everyone else in the police department and the fire department who got together and made National Night Out happen. It was a wonderful event. Heard nothing but compliments and positive, positive feedback about the apartment chiefs. Your people really stepped up, and it was a great evening.
Good, thank you, George. Appreciate you saying that. It was a fabulous evening, so thank you for mentioning that. I think we were all there, right? Yeah.
I was not there.
Pardon me?
I was not there.
Oh, you were not there. That's right. I'm sorry. You had other
Pressing
situations.
business.
Yeah,
Yes.
pressing business to attend to. So, okay. Trustee Claire?
A comment and a concern of the resident that was up here about Lancer Park. One thing is that I'm concerned because that isn't supposed to happen. The information of the person that calls in is not supposed to be given out by code enforcement, by police. So I don't know if that is actually happening, or maybe the other resident figured it out, but that isn't supposed to be happening. If it is, that needs to be looked into.
Yeah, no, unless I'm unaware of it, it's the policy not to disclose. And in fact, when there are FOIA requests, complaining witnesses' names are redacted.
Right.
Sometimes neighbors do figure it out.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we have to figure it out. And the other thing is at any time, instead of calling, you can do a CSR, customer service request online, and put down anonymous. And if you want, you can put your email that nobody's going to know who it is, and you can keep track of it, but you are still anonymous. But, as to your comment, it should be totally anonymous. So they might have figured it out just by, who the neighbors are, but your information absolutely should not be given out. So, if you have any kind of documentation that you feel it is being done, please let us know. so.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because this is what she's making reference to is serious, and that's
Yeah.
the reason that I asked for specific addresses, because
Yeah.
if we don't know where the problem is, then it's a little hard to address it. So that's why I'm happy that you have some addresses, and, you know, perhaps you'll get some more, and again, share them with Mr. Franklin or whomever.
Yeah, because we take, all of us on the board and the mayor, we all take this very seriously. So, you know, we certainly want, you know, staff to look into it.
Other questions?
And they will.
Yep. Questions, comments from the board? No? Okay. We are going to adjourn into an executive session in accordance with Section 2, subsection C11 of the Open Meetings Act, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the public, particular public body, has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the meetings of the closed meeting. So I'm looking for a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second.
We need a roll call, yes, please.
Are we coming back?
We are not.
We are not coming back afterwards.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
Trustee Kozak absent.
5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. So we are adjourned, and we ask that